Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining today. So we want to seek the blessings and good wishes of Radha Krishna, Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnavas, so that we can continue with the overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto. So today we are at chapter 72, and this is a, yeah, come, you can do it.
Kaschin matparam loke tejasa yasasa shriya vibhuti vabi bhavat devopi kim uparthiva. Translation: no one in this world, even a demigod, what to speak of an earthly king, can defeat my devotee with his strength, beauty, fame, or riches.
So Lord Krishna explaining the power of the devotee, even more stronger than a demigod. So this is the slaying of demon Jarasandha. So this chapter deals with that. And also here's Krishna hears Yudhishthira's request. So what is his request? He wants Krishna's permission to perform the sacrifice. One day, Maharaj Yudhishthira addressed Lord Krishna. Because what happened last chapter, Krishna went with his wives and children to Indraprastha. And he was greeted very beautifully by the Pandavas and also the elders and the residents of Indraprastha. And he stayed there for many months. So anyway, one day, Yudhishthira Maharaj addressed Lord Krishna as he sat in the royal assembly, surrounded by eminent sages, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, his brothers and spiritual masters, etc. And he said, "My Lord, I wish to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice." In this sacrifice, people uninterested in your bhakti, your devotional service, will be able to see firsthand the superiority of your devotees and the inferiority of non-devotees. That inferiority, superiority is not just on a material basis, but a spiritual basis, but also on a material basis. The devotee is in every respect superior to the non-devotee. And that's not the pride of the devotee, because the devotee is very humble, and that's how humility is what gives him the strength. The strength, of course, comes from the Supreme Lord. Purified persons who serve you are sure to obtain freedom from material existence. And even if they desire something, they are never satisfied. You bless all who properly worship you, granting their desired fruits in proportion to the service they render you. I think that should be slightly wrong there. I think they are always satisfied. So devotees are always purified personalities who serve the Lord. They get freedom from material existence. And even if they want something, it gets fulfilled by Krishna. But it gets fulfilled in such a way that they become close to Krishna, not far away from Krishna. Lord Krishna extolled Yudhishthira's proposition. Your idea to perform a Vedic sacrifice is so excellent that it will spread your fame throughout the universe. Indeed, all living beings should desire this sacrifice be performed. To make this sacrifice possible, however, you must first defeat all the kings of the earth and collect all the necessary paraphernalia. No one in this world, even a demigod, can defeat my devotee with his strength, beauty, fame, or riches. So this Rajasuya sacrifice is where effectively you are regarded to be the greatest ruler on the planet. And of course, in order to do that, you have to defeat all the kings on the planet. And Krishna is advising him that way. So Yudhishthira sends his brothers to conquer the world. Satisfied with Krishna's words, Yudhishthira sent his brothers to conquer the various directions. He sent Sahadev to the south with the Srinijayas, Nakul to the west with the Matsyas, Arjun to the north with the Kayas, and Bhim to the east with the Madrakas. After they had conquered or won the kingdom of the kings in their assigned directions, they brought back abundant wealth to Yudhishthira. They informed him, however, that Jarasandha could not be defeated. So, the king of Magadha, nobody could defeat him. As King Yudhishthira pondered how he could subdue Jarasandha, Shri Krishna revealed to him the means for doing so, following the previous advice of Uddhav. So, and what was Uddhav's advice? He said the only person who can defeat him is going to be Bhim, and he should go there disguised as a Brahmin and request a fight. So this was explained to Yudhishthira by Krishna. And then they set off. Bhim, Arjun, Shri Krishna disguised themselves as Brahmins and went to the palace of Jarasandha. And interestingly, Jarasandha was very devoted to the Brahminical culture, although he was demoniac in nature because he was against the Supreme Lord. He liked the Brahmins. He served the Brahmins. This is really unusual combination. You don't like Krishna, but you like the Brahmins. They introduced themselves as Brahmins to King Jarasandha, flattering him by praising his reputation for hospitality and requesting him to grant their desire as they were needy guests. Now, Jarasandha, seeing the marks of bowstrings on their limbs, the sounds of their voices and their physical stature, he concluded that they were more like warriors and not Brahmins. So he was no fool. He could understand this is somebody's trying to play a trick on me. And he thought that he had seen them somewhere before. However, even knowing this, he promised to fulfill whatever desire they might have, thinking that what is the use of an unqualified Kshatriya who goes on living but fails to gain everlasting glory by working with his perishable body for the benefit of Brahmins. This is actually quite laudable in one sense. And at that time, Jarasandha was remembering the spotless glories of Bali Maharaj. So, all well and good. When you're serving the Brahmins, you're actually pleasing Krishna. However, if you are against Krishna in the first place, then you have a demoniac nature, unfortunately. Jarasandha told Krishna, Arjun, and Bhim to choose whoever they wish. Choose whatever they wish, even if it was his own head. At that point, Lord Krishna discarded his disguise, introducing Bhim and Arjun and himself. And they asked Jarasandha to fight him, them, any one of them, in a one-to-one combat. Now, thus challenged, Magadhraj, he laughed out loudly and he said contemptuously, "All right, you fools, I'll give you a fight, but I will not fight with you, Krishna. You're a coward boy, and you were afraid of me. You ran away from your own capital of Mathura to take shelter in the sea at Dwarka. So why should I fight with you? You're a waste of space." His disregard for Krishna was crazy. As for Arjun, he is not as old as I, nor is he very strong. Since he is no match for me, he should not be my contender. But Bhim, however, is as strong as I am. So Jarasandha liked to fight, and he picked Bhim. Jarasandha handed Bhim a club and took up another himself. And they all went outside the city to begin the fight. The two heroes thus began battling each other, skillfully circling left and right like actors dancing on a stage. The fight presented a magnificent spectacle. When Jarasandha and Bhim's clubs loudly collided, the sound was like the impact of big tusks of two fighting elephants. They swung their clubs at each other with such speed and force that as the clubs struck their shoulders, hips, etc., the weapons were crushed. Their clubs thus ruined, they fought each other with their iron-hard fists. As they thus fought, this contest between opponents of equal training, strength, and stamina reached no conclusion. And so they kept on fighting without any let-up. After the fight had gone on for some time, it became clear that the two opponents were too equally matched for either to gain victory. So this is Jarasandha, Krishna, Bhim, and Arjun introducing themselves. So, and they fought for something like, I think, 28 days. And in the evening, they would all take prasad together. In the day, they would fight. This was the Kshatriya tradition. They would eat like friends in the evening. But in the daytime, they'd fight like mad. Lord Krishna, of course, knew the secret of his enemy, Jarasandha's birth. And he also knew how he can die. So, and also how he was given life by the demoness Jara. So what happened was one time, a child was born to the king of Magad before Jarasandha. And unfortunately, the child was born in two halves, which was very unusual. And they were very unhappy. So they threw away the child. He was lifeless. They just threw it away. And then a demon called Jara came, and somehow she just put them together, and Jarasandha was actually born. And that's why it's called Jarasandha, named after the demon Jara. So somewhere, I think I got it. Yeah, there you go. It was into two parts, and then it was put together by Jara and became Jarasandha. So, considering all this, Lord Krishna imparted his special power to Bhim. Having determined how to kill the enemy, the Lord of infallible vision made a sign to Bhim by tearing in half a branch of a tree and showing how to kill Jarasandha. Understanding this sign, mighty Bhim, the best of fighters, seized his opponent by the feet and threw him to the ground, stepped on one of his legs, seized the other with his arms, and proceeded to tear him apart from his genitals to his head. So he literally tore Jarasandha in half. There you go. This is the beginning. He's got his leg, and he's going to tear him into half. It tears him into half. The king's subjects then saw Jarasandha lying in two separate pieces. Seeing Jarasandha dead, his relatives and his subjects cried out in lamentation. Lord Krishna then appointed Jarasandha's son, the ruler of Magad, I think his name was Sahadev, and released the kings Jarasandha had imprisoned. There were many kings that he had, the 20,000 kings that he had imprisoned. So this is the chapter 72, pastime of the killing of Jarasandha. And of course, Jarasandha being killed by a devotee, in front of the Supreme Lord will have actually attained moksha. And his service to the Brahmins, that would have helped him. But being inimical to the Lord didn't, unfortunately, prevented him from doing bhakti. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Just one thing. Yeah, those who are inimical to Krishna and those who are his devotees, when they die with the Krishna being around or Krishna sense, they both achieve the salvation, isn't it?
They do.
It's because Krishna is neutral.
He's neutral.
He's, I mean, for the devotees, but it says that he favors his devotees. So, and at the same time, people like Kansa and Jarasandha, they all get moksha being killed. So it's a little bit hard concept to agree to, unless you believe that Krishna is neutral. I think that is the whole thing.
He's neutral, but he, at the same time, is he is aligned with his devotees. So how does that work? Anybody can become his devotee. This is the point. Nobody is stopped from becoming his devotee. That's, in that sense, he's neutral, but he is still partial to his devotees. But the point of neutrality is that nobody is stopped from being his devotee. But the other aspect is that the demons, because they're thinking of Krishna negatively, so they are always thinking of Krishna. At least some of them are always thinking of, like Kams, he was always thinking of Krishna. That purified him, even though it was in a negative mood. But when he goes to the spiritual world, his service may not be like that of a devotee. His service will be, his mood was not akin to serving the Lord in a favorable way. So he may not necessarily attain a position in the spiritual world where he's serving the Lord. It may be more neutral, like piece of grass, or it might be in the Brahma Jyoti, in the effulgence of the Lord. But he won't get necessarily a chance to become very closely associated with the Lord. There are, of course, exceptions, like Putana.
Yes.
No one also wanted to kill him, but she offered him breast milk, and he accepted that breast milk. And still, even though her mood was negative, he gave her the service of nurse in the spiritual world. So, so he's always partial to his devotees, but nobody is stopped from becoming his devotee. And those who achieve liberation through negative thinking about the Lord, they will get liberation, but it won't be the same class as that of a devotee.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Yeah. No, thank you for asking. It's very interesting how Jarasandha is very partial to the Brahmins, but at the same time, he's so anti the Supreme Lord.
He was Kansi's father-in-law, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why. Perhaps.
That's right.
So anti Krishna.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a good friend of Kams. Yeah.
So the conclusion is that those who are with demoniacal characteristics, even if they do some bits of kindness to a Brahman or they do something, then there is a hope for them in the next life, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
They do something good. Even if with demoniacal, they would have some good qualities, so they may have a chance to go higher up, and then.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Even those who are very, perhaps sinful, they get a little opportunity to serve the Brahmins or to do a little bhakti, even hearing the holy name on the streets when the devotees are chanting. And, they just appreciate that a little bit. Their spiritual life has actually begun.
Yeah, I think that's what they say, that Krishna wants everyone to go back to Godhead. And these are some of the ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even demoniacal people, how they can change.
Yeah.
Not they can change in this life, in this birth, but in the next life, they may come into contact with somebody and then get into a bit of a higher and higher position until they become more a devotee and then attain Krishna.
Yeah, that's correct. And sometimes like a devotee like Prabhupada comes, and he sort of he translates the Bhagavatam, and it comes somehow into the hands of somebody who doesn't even care about spiritual life, but somehow or other, that book eventually makes this big transformation in their hearts. Yeah, very true, very true. Srukuti is called, unknowingly doing some pious activity, which later gives such huge spiritual, benefit.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you so much. Riyansh, did you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I don't think it is right that Sahadev helped the Pandavas in Mahabharata.
Sorry, Sahadev?
That Sahadev helped Pandavas in fight in the Kurukshetra war because Pandavas liked him very much, so they crowned him, so they helped him.
Actually, Sahadev, the son of Jarasandha, was a devotee. So Krishna crowned him as king. And Sahadev liked Krishna very much. Yeah, and that's right. He fought on the side of the Pandavas. Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Riyansh. Any other comments or any questions? Otherwise, we can chant the Lord Sringadev's Kavach and seek his protection for devotees to continue their service to Radha and Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.